Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to speak a little bit on the Division 2's lore and why I feel like the story doesn't feel as airtight as the Division 1. Now, this is going to be more of a free-form critique. I have no notes, and I'm just going to be sharing my thoughts. So bear with me if I stumble across my words, because I feel like this is, for me, a better way to interact with you guys. And if I make any mistakes or any errors, it gives you an opportunity to comment in the comment section. So for those of you who know, I like stories. I like story-driven experiences, story-driven encounters. I'm not a crazy fanatic over them, but I do enjoy them to a very healthy degree. I like where I can find a good story. And for those of you who also know, shameless plug, I also wrote a fiction book that you can check out, link in the description. If you want to read something, critique something, maybe even review something, knock yourself out. I am currently working on the second part of the book. It's actually a series. And, the Division 2 actually being on downtime, I guess, is another blessing in disguise. So fingers crossed, egg me on, pray for me. Hopefully I can finish that second title, the second part of the book, and provide a little bit more closure to the way the story is. A short story. It's about 100 and something page read, but my goodness, all this self-promoting, get out of here. All right. So the Division 2's story not being as airtight as the Division 1, in my opinion, I think is probably as a result of the time frame. And yes, there are aspects that probably required for the game to actually progress like this. And I think that progression could have been better served in the simulation of the Division 1 game itself. So when the Division 1 game ended, they spoke about how Fei Lao in the first incursion said, I have to go find out what happened to the President of the United States. This is something that they were kind of maybe trying, New York was trying to contact DC and all of that stuff. And it was a natural progression that the next frontier was going to be DC. But I feel like they should have left it within the same framework of the Division 1 before rushing to bring out the Division 2, because the Division 2 story doesn't really seem to resonate like the Division 1 story. And so a Division 2 would have fared better in a timeline that was maybe a year, or even a year feels too short, perhaps a few years removed from the events that had happened in New York on Black Friday of that year, when the so-called green virus or green whatever was pretty much propagated. Because Division 1 provided this atmosphere of what exactly that looked like and how the virus actually affected the civilization. 6 months down the road, a civilization like DC feels a little foreign. It's already retaking shape. Society seems to be taking shape, but what about NYC? And, that's another question that you have to ask for yourself. How is NYC faring? Did we just leave New York? Is anybody going to rebuild the city? Is the city abandoned? So these, I think, are like maybe, plot opportunities that could be filled in terms of how the story progressed. Another thing, too, is there's so many characters that really built the story of the Division 1 that I felt like a replacement or an archetype of these characters could have maybe been instilled in the Division 2 to actually give it more authenticity. And characters like these would have been really, really solid. So let's start from a very iconic character that's pretty much known to everyone, and that's Rick Velassi. Rick Velassi in the Division 1 was the atmosphere setter. That guy, whoever did the voice, you need to let us know who you are. The Division community is absolutely enthralled by this character. And for those of you who are like, who's Rick Velassi? You didn't play the Division 1, then I will almost want to suggest that you probably need to play the Division 1 and get to the point where you unlock a safe house and walk up to a radio and listen to magnificent podcasting. Or I'll call it magnificent post-apocalyptic podcasting, because that's what Rick Velassi does. Rick Velassi just puts out theories, conspiracy theories. Theories, they seem like conspiracy, but while you're playing the game, you know that they're not conspiracy because they're actually things and events that are going on. And he's pretty much proposing these theories and they are actually true. And he set the atmosphere for what was going on. But in Washington, D.C., we don't have any character like that. It feels like everything is highly decentralized. And I guess maybe that's the nature of the city, but I feel like that could have been tied up better in order to give you a better feel for what the story is like. And then encounters or influences of a major villain from the Division 1 is only shadowed in a very small way, whereas it could have been highly foreshadowed much more than it already is, and that is Aaron Keener. Yes, you pick up collectibles, that you listen to him. There's suspicions that that hunter that you meet in your progression in the Division 2, in one of the missions where you have to go answer to an agent's signal, is most likely him. We don't know what's going on, and a lot of people have said that most likely that was Aaron Keener who was that person. But Aaron Keener has been a phantom for the whole Division 1. Why is he in DC? We don't even get many clues as to why he may be in Washington, DC. And I mean, yeah, maybe the collectibles will shed some light on that, but we don't see too much activity in terms of maybe echoes. Now, I have to confess, I have not picked up all the echoes. So like I said, if there's an echo that will help me with some of the story progressions, please point me to it, because a lot of the echoes that I see are basically for events that had taken place in DC, and we have almost no connection. In terms of Division 1, most of the echoes that you saw showed the Division 1's first wave agents, and you knew you were the second wave agents, and you kind of saw what their struggles were, what their plight was, and you knew where you were coming into the story as an agent. In Division 2, on the other hand, I don't feel like you have a sense of what that is. And I think that's probably why Episode 3 seems to be much more earthy and grounded in rerouting us back to going to find one that we used to call brother. You know, that's Aaron Keener in everybody's mind, because I feel like that is a much more authentic story to bring back to the game. I don't know when the decision to bring New York into it was actually made, but I feel like maybe Red Storm pitched the idea and somebody said, sure, you know, we're going to be working on ideas here on DC. And, you know, I have to be slightly fair. You know, we have really critiqued DC here in the division. And, you know, maybe it was a different team that worked on it. Maybe it was the same team that worked on it. But our critique for DC has been really, really, really lopsided. But you can't help it. The Division 1, we got to spend so much time in New York. It's very difficult to not envision New York coming back to the Division 2. And for those who write the story and those who have written a lot of Division story, you know, I feel like good job to you. You set up something from the Division 1 that actually works. The Dark Zone in the Division 1 is actually good. Some people said the Dark Zone in Division 1 was going to be actually split into 3. And in hindsight, that actually may have been a good idea in the original story. So for that to have shown up in the Division 2, I think they probably went and rehashed that aspect of it, and I don't think it really worked. To be very honest, I don't think they should have actually called it the Dark Zone and split it into 3. They should have kept it as one area and called it somewhere else, because that Dark Zone concept seemed to have worked well in the Division 1 as it just became a very organic story. I feel like in DC, it should have been made on the outskirts of the city. That would have been a perfect place to land it. And then you, as an agent, can make your way outside of the city. And then, you know, you have somebody telling you, hey, you're making your way to the outer parts of the city. This is no man's land. It should have been called some, you know, other name, like, you know, no man's land type name or something like that. But we agents would be like, yeah, we know that this is the Dark Zone. It would have probably helped the story a little bit. That way, you know, you're not trying to, you know, force what's not to be what is. Or maybe even they split it in 3 and it was something else. But I just feel like the story didn't allow for having that Dark Zone as a central aspect of it. So that also kind of maybe pushed the game design in a different direction. But not until we hear a lot of the design process are we going to be able to figure out all of the intricacies. So hopefully Massive and Ubisoft are going to be bringing out a lot more exposition stuff for those of us who are really interested in story. Yes, you may get dislike bombed right now, so maybe you want to be releasing those kinds of videos after you've dropped our year 2 content, that raid that you're holding on to, saying you're working on, right? And whatever comes with it better be good so that you can drop those contents for us. They're Massive. And I feel like, it'll be definitely something that a lot of us will appreciate here in the community. We'll be able to talk about it. We'll be able to see it in action, and we'll be able to rally around it. So that's pretty much a little bit of my, soft critique as to the story for the Division 2, why I feel like it can be tightened up better. And there is opportunity to tighten it up better. It's not it's not a completed project. It's a project that's still ongoing. So there's room to still fill in the story opportunities. And perhaps we're going to be seeing these things down the road. So that's my video for today. Thank you very much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys for watching the content. See you in the next one. Peace.